Welcome back to another episode of Shimmer and Show's YouTube channel. Today we're talking about how we prepared for our very first wedding expo. So the first step was obviously picking and signing up for an expo. For us, this kind of just happened. I was scrolling on Instagram and saw another vendor that I follow post about this expo happening. They were looking for vendors, and so I just reached out and signed up. Primarily the reason we jumped on this expo was because of the cost. So how would you decide which expo to go to? I would say it really depends on your budget. A lot of the expos tend to be at least a few $100s to attend as a vendor. I think the average cost is somewhere between like $500 and $800 depending on the venue, and also that can go up quite a bit if you want a larger booth. The expo that we did, there was one booth size. There were two prices. You were either upstairs or downstairs. We did want to be downstairs, and it was, I think, a $10 difference. So for us, that $10 difference of being downstairs was huge. We had never been to the venue before, and it was our first time doing this, so we weren't sure how upstairs would go, if a lot of people would go up there. So for only $10, we definitely wanted a downstairs spot. The booths were rather small, and this expo actually charged less than $100 for a booth. So it was a one-day expo, and it was, we did get to come set up the night before, but that was it. So it was short, and it was a smaller venue. There were less vendors there as well. That's another thing to take into consideration, is how many vendors are going to be at your expo, and how many of them are in the same industry? How many of them are your direct competition? Because although it's fine to have some, you definitely don't want to be oversaturated with one type of vendor at an expo. So how do you know how many vendors are actually going to be there that are your competition? Unfortunately, sometimes you don't. Some expos will limit the number of one particular type of vendor they'll allow. Others do not. So they normally tell you that in the vendor information that you look at when you're trying to consider an expo. You can reach out and ask how many they've had in the past, how many do that you already have, and they may or may not share that information with you. So you've booked your expo, now what? Now is when you really start deciding, okay, what is your purpose? For most of us, the purpose of an expo is marketing. We want to get our names out there, we want to get more clients, and to really start to draw them into our business. So this first thing to do is to start stocking up on all your marketing supplies. So for us, this included our business cards, and we created some coupons to go along with the event, and we purchased a little spinning wheel to try to get people to come into the booth to determine what prize they were getting. I'll explain a little more on that in a minute. But those materials you want to start preparing, the things that the attendees are going to take with them. One thing that I learned when I was looking up how to get the most out of an expo was that you want to send someone home with 3 things. That way they see your name or they associate something with your business 3 times when they get home. That way it's more for you compared to other people. So for us, this included a 10% off coupon, a gift from our prize wheel, and our business card. So those were our 3 things. We did tie them all together to make it easier to hand out. You don't necessarily have to do that step, and it just kept all of our things together for them. So now I'm going to explain a little bit about how we came up with our prize wheel idea. A little bit of a story here. It was a little bit of a process. So we had done our research, and we knew we wanted to have something to give away to people, and we needed that third item. We knew it was a business card and a coupon. Those are kind of standard things for an expo, but what was that third item? I was talking with a family member who specializes in marketing, and she recommended that it was something that I made, because I sew, something that I make, something that's useful, so that every time that someone uses it, they think back to us and it's associated back to us. So then we started brainstorming, okay, what can we do? That's when I started making these little card holders. And then, I cut out a bunch of them and I sewed about 30 or 40 of them, and I realized that they were just a little too time consuming to have that be the only thing we were giving out. It was the first time this expo was happening, so we had no idea how many people to expect. I figured 100 was probably about what to expect, so I was planning for 200 just to be safe. So I needed quite a bit more to give away than just 30 of these little card holders. So that's when I started looking through my scraps and I was like, oh, you know what's really easy to make is scrunchies. So then we started making all of these lovely scrunchies. Those were really quick and a lot easier, and that's actually something that I've kept in the business now, and the leftovers I've started handing out to my clients when they come pick up their dresses, and I'll probably continue to give those out as freebies. And then the third item, at this point there wasn't really a lot of time, and so we just added another coupon that they could get an additional 10% off, so they got a total of 20% off any purchase in our store. So we offer quite a bit of different things. We have alterations, we have custom gowns, we have some bridal veils, and we have our off-the-rack dresses. So they could use those on anything. Now there was one stipulation with our coupons. We made it where they had to book the appointment within 1 week of the expo. So the coupon was good for a year, but they had to get on the books within 1 week. The reason for this was we wanted to have more immediate results. We wanted to see how successful and how many clients we were actually getting from the expo. So the other marketing piece we had is we really wanted to be able to collect email and contact information for people that stopped to talk to us. So again, we knew they weren't just going to give this to us. We had to give them something in return. So we did a drawing for a free veil. And all they had to do was their name, their wedding date, email address, and phone number. So basically their basic contact information. And everyone that entered, we sent out a few follow-up emails to remind them to book so that they could use their coupons, and then we chose a winner. This could also be used for whatever you're really focusing on in your business. I saw other people choosing to give something similar away for following them on Instagram or for liking their Facebook pages. So it's really about what your focus is in marketing right now and applying that to whatever your giveaways are. So once you've decided what you're giving away, now it's time to bring everything into a booth. And this is where for us things got a little bit tricky. Like I mentioned before, there was one booth size, and it's smaller than your average booth sizes were. It was, I think, 4 by 6 feet, which that sounds like it might be decent, but when you're talking a table, all your marketing supplies, for us we had our lovely mannequin there as well, it got pretty small pretty fast. One of the things that I really liked when I was doing my research that was recommended was to create a space that you invite people into. So you want some sort of little opening. So we have this 4 by 6 foot space that we also are trying to keep open in the middle. So we were able to do this by using 2 different side tables. They were slightly varied in height, so we could set them next to each other, almost kind of stagger them. And then we put our mannequin on the other side with the dress on it. We did choose to put the mannequin on the inside and the tables on the outside because we were worried. We were right by a door and we didn't want people coming in and stepping on the dress. So we wanted her protected, and then we had our tables with all of our marking materials on the other side. We did end up leaving a chair as well, but whenever someone came, I definitely stood up to talk to them. So that's kind of how we framed in our space, and then we decorated it with our business colors. For us, we're really lucky. The tables were gifted to us, as well as a few other things. Our wedding supplies from our wedding were the right colors. We did pick our business. I picked our business colors first, and then we ended up meeting and getting married and choosing the same colors. It was a coincidence, but we're so grateful for it now because it is constantly being reused. We did choose to use our backdrop here just because it really made the booth our branding, our business versus similar to others. We were able to keep that table away from being in front of us so that we were more inviting. We were not putting a barrier between us and our potential clients. And then we, like I mentioned, this was our very first wedding expo, so we didn't really have a business sign, which is where this came into play. This was gifted to me not too long ago. It was originally a gold mirror, and then we went ahead, we spray painted it with some gray and silver spray paints, courtesy of my mom's help. And then I had another friend that had a Cricut, so we just die cut our vinyl into place. So we had our tables with our marketing materials and all of our elements. We did go ahead and we hung our veils up across the top of our backdrop, which is the one of the big reasons we wanted that as well, because we were giving away a veil. We wanted them to see their options as well. And of course, my family's help when we were setting up the booth was invaluable because they were able to help come and see and get those little nitpick details that sometimes we are just so overwhelmed with, or just another set of eyes is always a great idea. So you've got everything prepared, you've got your booth set up, you go home for the night, and then it's the day of the expo. Some things to really think about on the day of the expo is, one, what are you going to wear? How are you going to present yourself? Because you have to remember that you are your business. So for me, I chose to wear a nice pair of slacks and one of my favorite sweaters that was a solid color, and it didn't clash with our branding, but it also wasn't the same colors as all of our branding, so I didn't quite blend into the booth. And then I did go ahead and style it with my Western booties and a pair of turquoise earrings. And that was just because it was a barn venue and I do have enough accessories to kind of fit into the venue as well. That's not necessary, but it was something I chose. What I would really just make sure to do, no matter what kind of vendor you are, is to just make sure you're looking professional. So you probably don't want to be in your favorite pair of sneakers and a hoodie. It's better to look a little more professional. It'll help your clients feel more comfortable with you as a wedding professional. So you've completed the day, you've talked to all of the people, you've stood up, you've met them, you've given out all your stuff. What now? That day, you're probably going to be exhausted and ready to just go home and sleep. So that's what I would suggest. I know we were done, so we packed up, we went home, and we spent the rest of that evening just kind of relaxing and trying to get better. And then the next day, we took all of those emails that we had, we made sure to do our drawing for our veil winner, and we started to plug those into our contacts. And after the expo, we went ahead and I sent out 2 different emails. I sent one about, I think it was Wednesday, so the event happened on a Saturday, and a few days later I sent an email reminding them to book so that they didn't miss the opportunity to get their 10 or 20% off. And then I did send a second email, I believe it was the night before the deadline. So they had to book by Saturday, so Friday afternoon or evening I sent a second email reminding them, don't forget, you make sure to book. For us, unfortunately, we did not get any bookings from that event. Our veil winner will probably be coming to visit me for a second alteration, but her primary alterations she had already booked as well. So it wasn't the most successful event, but for us, it did get our name out there. It allowed us to get some networking with some other vendors, which that is also very valuable. So you have to think about all of the aspects of what did you gain from this event to determine whether it was really important, whether it was really valuable for you, or whether next year when it comes around you're going to go ahead and pass. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you found this information helpful. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so that you know when we're posting new content. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, make sure you also leave those below in the comments and we'll make sure to use them. I hope you all have a shimmering day.